Our story is rooted in the traditional tale or mythology of Varuna. So from the very beginning, we already had quite a bit of sort of fantastical narrative and creatures and stories to draw on. But also from the beginning, we wanted it to have its own signature. So we kind of gave ourselves some license to really even expand that out and create a really fantastical underwater world that we could play in.
There is a glorious moment in our story where we are concerned about what is going to happen with the underworld, that pollution is taking over. And suddenly, we transition from a dry world and bring into the world that we're, as an audience, are watching this glorious, incredible moment of opening up to the aquarium and mermaids swimming in the ocean. It's quite a magnificent moment. It's a moment that, in fact, takes your breath away.
For this show, the script was really well done and actually really well defined. So because of that, it was easy for me to be able to support all the emotions and the action in a really clear way. And because the script also left place to musical interpretation, I was able to take those precise movements and make them my own musically. Overall, this is a really magical project, and when that happens, it's really easy to make music for it. The whole team is amazing, and Peter, the director, is absolutely great. I was lucky also to have a great musical director from Indonesia to help make the music flow the way it should. Varuna is a really great show, and I hope the audience will love it as much as I do.
We want that the audience comes into the theater and they feel that they are inside another world. And therefore, we created and designed a special sound and ambience that feels that you are actually just by the sea or even under the sea. So this is very fun because it involves a lot of sound designs. It involves to do some recording of Foley, as well as it involves a lot of imaginations of how this kind of choreography will sound under the water, for example. So this is fun, yeah.
The original composition was by an amazing artist called Benoit, and Elwyn has picked up that mantle. But even now, getting very close to the show, we're still trimming, we're still adding little sound effects to help enhance. So, for example, in the sword fight, I'll choreograph the sword fight to the dynamics of the current existing music, but Elwyn will now layer on top of that a little effect or a sound, something to help support the strike of a sword or the lift of a costume piece.
Ini sebenarnya yang paling keren menurutku dan tidak ada di show yang lain. It's only in Varuna karena di tempat lain tidak ada. Itu adalah the dry cast and the mermaid bisa bersatu dalam satu panggung. Itu menurutku sesuatu yang di luar dari biasanya gitu, pementasan biasanya.
So, there's a lot of challenge to be the mermaid in the show. The first thing, we need to hold our breath. All the mermaids in the show, they can hold their breath for minimum 3 minutes and maximum 5 minutes plus. So I think it's enough for the mermaid to do the show. And the second challenge, they need to be relaxed. They need to show their facial expressions while holding their breath. So it's not easy, but they're really hard to train to make like a relaxed facial expression while holding the earth to breathe so hard.
One of our main characters is a turtle. So it was very important to me from the very beginning to make sure that we could give that character some believable underwater kind of movements, that it was more, flowing and natural the way it traversed the space. So in order to do that, we started with the foundation of a puppet that the performer will, control from below, and then put him on a Segway to give him, this much more sort of a fluid flowing movement as he's just kind of like gliding through the water.
The driving force for the way I like to work is I want movement to feel like it's created the music. not the other way around. So we don't sit choreography on top of music. I feel like the movement needs to create what the sound is that people are hearing. So I like to work the opposite way around. Lots of people will just sit steps on top of music, but I think when we marry those two things together, magic happens.
Of course, some of the other key characters of the show are mermaids. So we have two different kind of mermaids. We have what we call the mermaids on the dry stage and the mermaids in the tank or in the aquarium. So the mermaids in the aquarium have long latex tails and fabric flowing to give them much more of a ambiance or presence in the water as they flow through. But we had a large challenge of creating that same kind of a flowing believability with the mermaids on the dry stage as well. So to accomplish that, we use flying systems and winches that can give them a three-dimensional movement across the space, and then also some flowing fabrics in their costumes that will allow them to, again, feel like they're taking up more space than they are, and that it feels a little bit flowing, that they're not just existing in air, but more like a thicker environment like water.
I just wanted to share a little about the story itself. There are many characters in the story, and it's a very simple story, but a beautiful story about a fisherman who falls in love with a mermaid, and they have a child. And our story follows the child's journey. And at a certain point, the child arrives at a rite of passage. And then he meets all these incredible characters that journey him and take him under the sea and journey him to take on the responsibility of saving the filth and the pollution and the grubbiness of the underworld that is killing off and polluting all the creatures of the sea, so that he finally, to the point that he finally meets his mother for the very first time. It's a wonderful way of being able to bring, in the final scene, we bring together the reuniting of the mother, the father, and the son.